Welcome to the Black Men Think podcast. If this is your first time here, know that the views and opinions expressed by the Black Men Think podcast are those of the Black Men Think podcast and not the individual members. With that being said, we're about to be unapologetically, undeniably black. Enjoy.
Hit record. Oh man!
Welcome to the show.
Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show.
We need to do an original
Black
Men Think.
There you go.
Intro song.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's
Go
make
with
that
it. Go with it.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
It's
There you
coming.
go. Hey, well, welcome to the Black Men Think podcast. I am your host, JD. To my right, I got my brother. Had a long week.
Well, you need to make sure you got your right. It's your left.
I said my left.
You
No,
said
it's
you're
your
right.
Well, to my right, you had a long week. Hell, I had a long week. We all had long weeks, man. Yeah.
Been a week.
We all in here, man. Torri and Marlon in the building. Corey on sick leave. Y'all can forgive him. He'll be all right.
He about to be on permanently.
He said he was on sick leave. He gonna see us next week, man. But how y'all doing, brothers?
We're here.
Week. But we here.
Yeah, we're here, man.
We here, man. We here with all the thinkers too. What's going on?
Yeah. We here, man. I don't know, bro. It's just we how we normally do for y'all at home. What we do is our pre-pod. We talk about what we want to talk about
Yep.
for the discussion of the pod. And we all sat down. I was like, bro, I don't have an idea. We don't have a subject matter. So I was like, let's just turn on the mics, let God in the room, and then we're gonna see what happens. That's what's gonna happen, right? So
That's right. There's a lot going on in the world, bro.
Yeah.
it is,
Yeah.
man. It is.
It's getting a little crazy.
Yeah.
To be honest, and granted, I'm not a person that. How do I say this? I don't get overexcited about a lot of things
Right.
when it comes to stuff happening in the world, because I guess my perspective on life, worldview, and all that kind of stuff, it's a part of the story.
Right.
Put it like that. But the stuff happening over in Israel right now is a little crazy, man. It's a little alarming,
Yeah.
and I don't know a lot about the history, the context of things. All I know is a lot of innocent lives being lost, man, and it's something at least to turn my prayers towards. So, but yeah, I'm just dropping that in there.
No, I think that's a
In the
good
air.
starting point, bro, because I didn't have a lot of knowledge of what was going on, but I asked somebody, right? And so a friend of mine, a colleague, she has family in Tel Aviv, and she's Persian, but she's very in tune of like what's going on. And so I just asked, I was like, give me a third grade
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
of what's going on. And she was like, so basically what happened is after World War II, like 1945, that time, after World War II, because of what Hitler did to the Jews, they were given land, a place to basically start over. And so this land that it was given is basically what we know today is Israel.
okay,
The only issue is Israel was Palestine. So they basically, it's almost like
so is it disputes over the land?
it's disputes over the land. So
Or at least that's the foundation.
that's the foundation.
everything.
So because of what Hitler did to the Jews were basically
Displaced.
displaced. And
Gotcha.
so like because they were displaced, here's some new land for you. Now the issue is that new land that was given to them already belonged to somebody, the Palestinians, right? And so because of that, the problem is it's just like somebody is just put it in very layman's terms. If somebody did something to somebody and said like, "Hey, where you stay at right now?
That's
Here
mine.
goes that's somebody else's house now."
Right.
Right. And so the issue is Israel has all of the resources. They have like the military. They have everything. And Palestine is basically was left with two pockets of land. And those two pockets of land, I don't know exactly where they're located geographically in terms of Israel, like they're on the left or the right or whatever, but they're left with two pockets of land. And every so often, the fights start up because they want those pockets. Israel wants those pockets of land. And so the issue is the Palestinian, I'm probably saying it wrong. The Palestinian people, they don't have the resources. So when they fight with whatever they got. It might be a Molotov cocktail. It might be like sticks. Whatever they got, that's what they're fighting with. But the biggest issue is you dealing with anti-Semitism because it's the Jews are there. So anytime that conflict comes up, the thought of, oh, it's anti-Semitism because, like, you know, these people are fighting for their land, but you're also fighting for land that belongs to displaced Jews. And so you have that battle going on. Also, you got people trying to fight for their land that's going on. And then you also have people who don't have the resources trying to fight for their land. So it's just like all of these things are like kind of going on at the same time. And the underlying theme is you can't talk bad about the Jews because it is considered anti-Semitic to talk about them trying to take the land from them because this is land that they were promised, basically. You know what I mean? So, but all of this stuff been going on since World War II,
decades.
So it's like over. You know, we grew up hearing like peace in the Middle East, and not really. You know, we see this stuff come up every now and then, but we don't really know what's going on. But that's like the third great view. And forgive me because I haven't done full research. I'm telling you, I respect the person that told me this information. And so I do,
and even that's coming from a perspective, and that's just coming to be clear, not necessarily our perspective. It's just the perspective of what you were told. Yeah,
absolutely. So this comes from what I was told, and so if I'm wrong, I challenge somebody to let us know that we are wrong and give us a better understanding. But I'm only giving you what I was told.
I mean, even in just following brief glimpses of the news in the midst of normal day-to-day life as it is here in America, at the end of the day, I see there's so many different versions of what the real cause, what the real problem is. And again, that depends on whose lens is seeing that.
Right.
All I know is I just see innocent lives being lost. And that's where, as a human, no matter where your history is, your background, no matter what, religion, no matter what you stand on, like that's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
And it's just really sad to see. So, for me, for us, it's just, man, prayers up for anybody and everybody over there affected. And I know unfortunately, this conflict is just beginning.
Yeah.
And you just hate to see more and more lives being taken, more and more lives at jeopardy, innocent lives too, right. So definitely prayers up, man, for that side of the world. It's getting crazy right now.
And I think we need to make sure that we also acknowledge that there's a difference between having conflict over land and the dispute and the events that led to this current situation. Because I don't want to mix. I don't think that yes, they are both a part of the same undertone, but each one has a different point of view.
Sure,
I think,
absolutely.
Because, from the weekend, just from the news report, it was, attack that took place in a part of Israel to where, civilians were killed and things of that nature. Then that sparked everything that has transpired after that. So I think that there is opportunities for conflict and to discuss disputes over things that have happened in the past from a land perspective. But I think that we also just need to make sure that we have a distinction between the two, so people 100%. Can just know. Because to your point, I can understand people from ancestral point of view to where hey, this was once our land and it was just taken and given. That definitely I think is something that's where peace in the Middle East came from. How can they get that peace because of that? But I think this goes from a different perspective, and it's not by all Palestinians, right? It's by a certain group. And like you guys said, I haven't just read up on everything, so I'm not going to expound too much, but it just seems like it's a group of people that does not represent the entirety of the people.
Right.
That's the one thing that I don't want
to
correct.
miss in here too is taking a few and mapping it to the whole.
The whole, yeah.
In the simplest terms, I mean, it was an all-out surprise attack that has turned into a war.
Yeah. Because from my understanding, it was a music festival, right?
It was a peaceful. A matter of fact, a peace music festival or something.
That's wild.
Yeah. So man, prayers for over there, and makes you appreciative of the life that we're blessed to have, and the things that we take for granted. To be honest with you,
Yeah, bro. Like I was talking to. I'm trying to do too much right now.
and got chords changing.
Yeah, chord going everywhere.
Yeah.
But I was talking to a buddy of mine, and he had a very honest perspective. And he said something where it made me look at him a certain type of way, but then I also was like, no, this is being honest. And he was like, man, should I feel bad that like I don't, he used the words I don't care, but he retracted it. Mm-hmm. And I was like, well, look, I said, look at it from this perspective. It's hard to understand what's going on because it's not happening in your backyard. But I was like, bro, imagine if a war just broke out in Castleberry Hill.
Bro.
Mm-hmm.
It would hit different. Like, you got to understand, like, wars don't happen on U.S. soil like that, bro.
Yeah.
Like, the last thing we had was really with 9/11. Yeah. You know what I mean? And we see the impact.
I mean, we've had probably smaller scale terroristic attacks.
But I mean, like a full on, like, no, we're declaring war type thing. Like, this is, it doesn't happen as often.
And honestly, and let me say this way. I'm not saying this insensitively.
Yeah.
But even that was isolated.
Right. I know what you're saying. Yeah.
That pales in comparison, in a sense, maybe not at a death toll level, but just in terms of how the optics look. Mm-hmm. Like, we haven't seen missiles hitting our city. Yeah. We live in Atlanta. We haven't seen that. We haven't lived in that type of reality. We haven't walked through a war-torn country or war-torn city in our lifetime.
Right.
And we just don't know that life here.
Yeah. I mean, it's a real perspective, and it's something that you probably will never fully understand until you're there and see it.
Right.
The only thing I can compare it to, and very lightheartedly compare it to, is when we go to these destination vacations and you see what everything looks like on your way to your resort.
Right.
Yeah. Right. You know what I mean? Like we've talked about that before, but when you see how the airport is nice, you leave the airport, the roads are not fully functioning.
People don't have electricity.
People don't have electricity. You see in shanty houses and
don't have running water and things.
No, right. Like you see these things, right? So that's the thing that I can say, the closest thing that we probably can compare it to, even though it pales in comparison. But if you have been on these destinations and you go to these resort islands and you see this stuff, it's almost like that. Right. That's probably the closest thing that we have been able to experience. You know what I mean? But it's tough, bro. It's tough, especially when you look at it from the perspective of young adults and kids that,
right,
bro, like this is their every day.
Right? Yeah,
and then there's some of the and I don't want to belabor this, but just listening to some of the horrific reports about what was done, it's just heart wrenching, and it just really tugs at the heart, and like, who could do such a thing? Yeah. Everybody has the right to defend their land, right, wrong, or indifferent. And unfortunately, we're in a very precarious time, and that's what steps are being taken. People trying to secure their land and their well-being. So
it's interesting, like, to your point, that, even who you're, the homie that you were speaking with, like, we're so we can so easily be distracted. Like, even just to kind of pivot this conversation a bit, like, it's crazy when you really think about how easy it is for us to scroll past,
right?
Oh man, like a life event happening in the world, to see that next hilarious comment, that next TikTok, that next Instagram post. It's like, honestly, let me keep it real. Like, I find myself pulling my phone out, like, I'll scroll and be like, dang, boom, it's gone.
Right.
And then I'm like, oh man, that's crazy. Let me send that to the chat. That's hilarious. Right. It's like that simple.
Man, look, all right, we getting deep. It scares me at times.
Yeah.
Especially when I find myself, it's two different times where it happens. It's late at night and I'm just doing this. And then I catch myself just
you don't even realize it.
I was just like, bro, I've been on the phone for 30 minutes doing this, right? And I'm like, hold up. This is automatic.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's automatic now, bro. And the fact is that it's become so automatic that we don't even think about it.
Yeah.
It's scary because what else comes with that? We're at the beginning of it. We don't even know 10 years down the line, bro. Like, imagine, and the other scary part is we all got young kids. Have you ever seen your child operate a phone?
Let me tell you something, bro.
They do it with ease.
Bruh.
With ease. And we're talking about 3, 4, and 5-year-olds doing it with ease. They don't even think about it. I watched my daughter pick up my phone, put in my code, go to Netflix, pick a show, and put it on the television.
How old is your daughter?
My daughter is 5.
Crazy.
And she's been doing this since she's been like 3 or 4. But I'm just saying the fact that she knows my code to my phone. That's number one. So the memory is there. Like this is automatic. Boom. All right, cool. I seen you do this enough times that like I got the code to your phone. Boom. Now I know where Netflix is. I can scroll and find Netflix. Not only can that, I know how to click on it and go to the app. I know how to get to the kids section, find the movie I want to look to. And once I find that movie, I can press play and I can cast it to the TV. Bro, what are we talking about, bro?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, what does the world look like in 5 to 10 years? It's crazy.
My son has a pastime. Like, he said, Mom and Daddy, can I see your phone? And so between whichever one of us is like, fine, go ahead. He opens our phone. He goes to the weather app. He opens the weather app up. He begins to tell me what the forecast is for the week based on the weather app. He doesn't stop there. He'll scroll down. He'll be like, Dad, let me show you on the radar. So he pulls open the map. He changes the radar from like precipitation, let's say, to like the terrain of the land. He proceeds to tell me, all right, this is what it's going to be like in Atlanta. Dad, I heard there was a hurricane. Let me show you where the hurricane is. So he'll kind of move the map. All, you know how you zoom out. He'll go all the way to the Atlantic Ocean. Dad, this is the hurricane. And let me show you the tropical storm that just came from the other hurricane that just passed. And he was like, and this is what it's going to look like in 7 days.
Bro.
I'm like, bro, I didn't even know my phone did that.
And but that's the thing. The kids know.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah. Well, I start with the twins. The twins, they have their own iPads, first of all. They each got their own passcode. They can punch in their own passcode. They can pick the app that they want to go to. So if we say, hey, y'all can watch videos, they know to go to YouTube Kids. They know where it's at. They know how to find it. They know how to scroll it. They know how to pick whatever they want to watch. And then they go get their Bluetooth headphones, cut it on, let it connect to it, and then they put it on, and then they're in their own world. And then not only that, we can tell them, hey, you need to do something educational. So they're like, okay, well, we'll just choose one of our 5 educational apps that we got and do their work.
Right.
So and then the 2-year-old, oh my gosh, he don't quite yet understand to put in his code, but he surely can come say, hey, I need help. Put the code in.
Put the code in, and I can figure out the rest.
And I can figure out the
The
rest.
2-year-old. So here's the question. Is
wild.
the generation of kids coming up in our kids' age group, are they smarter or are they dumber?
I don't think you can compare them. And the reason why I say that is because technology is different.
Yeah.
You know, we were smart at the technology that we had. You know, our parents would say the same thing, like, oh, because technology did. So I don't know if you can just compare the two as far as just saying which is smarter than the other, right? Because we did what we could do with what we had. And so I don't know if you can say smarter or not, because to me, it's not necessarily smart. It's more redundancy and routine and seeing people do it and you just pick up on it. Right?
So this is what I say to that. We had to learn the tech. They grew up with the tech.
Like second nature.
Yeah. So for us, it's kind of like, I'll even go as far as saying it's like video games. Like most of us grew up with a gaming system. We didn't need the book. Most of us would rip the plastic off of the game, put the game in, and we go to playing. We don't need the book to figure out how to play. We just gonna figure it out. We'll go.
Right.
I kind of compare it to that. Like for them, it's so a part of their lives, dog, that there's no need to think about it.
Right. It's routine.
It's routine. It's really routine. And then all they got to do is really sit back and watch mom and dad for a day, and they got it.
Yeah.
So when I asked that question, I was thinking about Chat GPT, and you know, honestly, in the back of my head, I was thinking, man, like assignments in the classroom are like it's over. Like, good luck finding any child of relevant age that actually has access to know how to use a Chat GPT or something similar to get to do their own work.
Yeah.
Like it. So that's what made me think, like, are they smarter or dumber? But honestly, I think I was asking the wrong question. And really, I'm just going to say as a statement, like, they're more resourceful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
Than we could ever have imagined to be.
They're more resourceful because they're more resources available.
Yeah. We had Spark Notes, bro. We had Spark Notes. We had to
Cliff Notes.
Let me explain something to people. Like, and I'm talking to us because, like, our demographic. But if you just so happen to be somebody under the age of 24 that catches this, what you have to understand is, in order for us to not read this book, we had to buy another book.
Yep.
That's hilarious. That is so factual.
You feel me?
Dang, that is crazy, bro. You're right.
We had to buy
we didn't
another
want to
book.
read this book. We had to buy another book and then read that book.
Or I think by the time we got in college, we could pay a subscription to view it on a website.
On a website.
You know?
But
And still had to read.
you still had to read.
Yeah.
Now you can literally go to Chat GPT and say, hey, before we get started, I just want to let you know that I'm a digital marketer. And one of my clients that I working with right now, they do this, this, and this. Now that you have that information, let me ask you a question. I'm looking for a marketing campaign for this company, and here is the current copy that they're using. We want to move away from that and use some updated, more simplified copy. Can you help me out? I can help you out with that. Thanks for letting me know that information. That helps me out tremendously in giving you to where you need to be. Let me know how this feels. And it just gives you the information. Now, the cool thing about Chat GPT is you would have got to that eventually. Mm-hmm. The information that they give you is like, it's not necessarily cheating. You were going to get there. It probably just would have took you like 6 to 8 hours.
Organized it for you.
But they got it there in 30 seconds. Right. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So,
and then you can take it from what they give you and say, actually, you know, like add another detail to it, and it will run it back and reorganize it for you in that same way. I mean, it's incredible. Honestly, it is a resource. It's a tool that companies, you know, honestly, marketing department, like any sect of a company should be interested enough to utilize it, because I think it can be used to your benefit. It's not a cheat code necessarily. It could be used that way, you know, but I do view technology of that nature as a resource. Yeah. I just think you have to be careful to make sure that you don't depend on it too much to take 100%. Your intellect out of it.
I just want to say, but don't you think it's to the demise of the individual?
That's the question.
Because now it's certain things that we had to do that was a part of the educational part for us to learn things and really understand it.
Sure.
So they're now going to be missing that understanding because they just get the end product.
The quick answer.
So I'm indifferent. I'm yes and no. I understand what you're saying, and I get that, and I think it does to some people, right? But for the people that are utilizing it as a tool, you can't be the copy and paste person. Now, if you're the copy and paste person, eventually you won't get to the point to where you need to be. You might win at the starting point, but that finish line, you're going to be far off because you're just copying and pasting. Mm-hmm. But for somebody that's utilizing it to kind of get a head start, and now, all right, this is the framework. I got the framework, and now I can utilize this to build on that framework. That's the way that it needs to be used and the way it should be used. But if you just copy and pasting, eventually, bro,
it's going to catch up.
It's going to catch up to you. Right. You know what I mean? Because all it takes is to get into the room with real people,
right? And
we go to talking, and it's like, well, fam, you built this out, right? Like, you gave me this, and you don't know what we're talking about,
right?
Okay, yeah, it's always gonna come back down to who in the room can really have those conversations. Like, you can get the head start all you want to, but can you back it up?
I hear you though, Torri. Like, there's something about the process, though. It becomes an incubation tool,
Right.
that builds it builds an intangible in you that you can't get any other way,
Right.
or at least we haven't seen it built another way. You know,
and part of me won't say it is that also a reflection of how, and this is just a question, I'm not saying it's necessarily the case, of how the U.S. utilizes more technology. And then that also shows up into how we've slipped in the world ranking when we talk about science and mathematics.
like we're low, I think.
Yeah, you know, I don't know the exact number,
terribly
but
low.
we're not in the top percentile like we used to be.
Yeah.
We're slipping. And so part of me is like, is that part of it, right? You know, the proliferation of technology. And so now they're using the easier way as opposed to those traditional way of really learning things, really understanding it so that you can compete and so that you can be a part of that as opposed to, I'm on Google the answer.
I'm literally looking up right now smart, because I want to challenge that. Like I agree, and I've seen that we are not one of the smartest countries. Like, okay, so here we go, ranked Forbes list, by the way, 25 smartest countries in the world. I don't think technology is the reason. I think technology is existent in some of these countries that we're about to see.
Oh no, it definitely is, because China's going to be at the top, Japan is going to be at the top, if I'm not mistaken. But if
this is not the list.
but the thing about it is, you got to look at the disciplinary stuff as well.
Well, that there you go. I mean,
Because you got to remember, Japan is so incredible, and China, they're so incredibly competitive in schools. Period.
Yeah.
well, you know, it's that thing here. We getting super deep, but we have that freedom of choice here versus in other countries. Like right here in America, bro. I can say that I want to be a doctor one day. I can say that I want to be a lawyer one day. Then I can say, man, I just want to be an influencer. And I can actually go and be an influencer.
Right.
Some of these other countries, bro, they're like, you're gonna be a scientist, you're gonna be this, and that's it. Like you got two options. You doing one of these two things, like a doctor or you working in tech, and that's it.
But also look at their investment into education as a whole.
Yeah, yeah. That's like we getting super layered.
Yeah,
now.
because
we
you know,
super layered.
There's no reason that a zip code should really determine
That's what
your
I'm saying.
educational proliferation, right? So
It's wild. I was at I went to the Hawks game last night, and I was with my cousin.
I can't even tell you, boy.
My cousin hit me up. He was like, "Bro, you want to go to the game?" I was like, "Cool." He had tickets. I just went, and we were just talking. Like he lives in Midtown. It was just like, man, there's so many Publix near me. He was like, it's a Publix and off West Peachtree. It's a Publix at Atlanta Station. It's a Publix off of North Avenue. And I was just like, yeah, bro, depending on where you at.
Yeah,
like,
what a food line at?
Yeah, I was like, but it's a lot of areas like you got Wayfield,
Wayfield.
Kroger. You know what I'm saying? But it just depends on where you live at. Like, you know what I mean? We live in an area that we got two Publix close, but our Publix ain't the same Publix as the Publix in Midtown.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? And but it just depends, right? He was got a Whole Foods here. He was just like, man, I'm so close to MARTA. I was like, your experience living in Midtown is completely different than the average person living in Atlanta.
100%.
The average person in Atlanta can't stand MARTA because I got to take a bus
to get to it.
to get to a train. You can just walk to the train station and everything that you need to get to is like nearby. I was like, bro, that ain't most people living in Atlanta. Nope. That ain't their experience at all.
Right.
You say you walking to Publix. Like, we couldn't even walk. We could walk to Publix if we wanted to where we stay at. But, bro, like,
We ain't walking to Publix.
We ain't walking to Publix.
Why?
It's why. Yeah, like,
Right.
why would I do that? You know what I'm saying? But I was just telling them, I was like, man, it's different. But I was talking about the zip code thing. That's why I was going for now. I was like, bro, you got to understand, your zip code right now, you got all the resources in the world. You can go 1 mile from where you're at. From where he's at, 1 mile south.
Options.
And it's like, bro, you're in hell. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's just, but it's just the options that you have because you live in Midtown.
Yeah.
It's like so different than somebody else that lives in Pittsburgh. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's amazing, dog. Just
let me give y'all what I found. So, world's cleverest countries, right? 3 categories: Nobel Prize ranking, IQ ranking, school test ranking. So, off top, let's go with the second 2 categories. The number 1 IQ ranking and the number 1 school test ranking country is Singapore. Like they got both of them. Mm-hmm. Let's go into the school test ranking because we're really talking about how our kids are being raised. So the second one is South Korea, third is Hong Kong, fourth is Taiwan, fifth Japan. Put it like this: U.S. is 13th. In terms of IQ, U.S. is 28th, Singapore still 1, Japan might be 6. Nobel Prizes, ironically, the U.S. is first.
Yeah.
And then someone like Singapore, that's number 1 on both of those other lists, is number 73. It's interesting.
So hold on. There's 73 on Nobel Peace Prize?
Nobel Peace Prizes. But they're first in IQ ranking and school test ranking.
But Nobel Peace Prize is not about smarts, though.
Correct. So, it might have a lot to do with resources. It might have a lot to do with opportunity and who's still in the country to earn that prize. Whereas, I mean, you think about, many probably brilliant folks that are coming from some of these higher ranking countries in IQ and school test ranking. The question remains, like, are they still in that country when they become adults? Have they moved somewhere else for career purposes? And are they now adding value to another country like the U.S. so that we can be the highest Nobel Prize?
Google who started the Nobel Peace Prize.
All right.
Oh, we getting there now.
Let's keep it going. Who started? Like what country?
No, who was? It's an individual.
Okay.
It was
who created Nobel Peace Prize?
Created Nobel. If I'm not mistaken, it was created by individual. And you're gonna.
Let's find out. We getting into the facts today, folks.
We get in there.
Because if I'm not mistaken, I think it was the person that created dynamite or TNT, as it's called.
Let's see.
And he made so much money.
Give me a second.
He didn't want to be known as the doctor of death or something to that.
The Swedish inventor and businessman Alfred Nobel.
Yep.
Through his last will.
Yep.
Through his last will. Mm-hmm. This way he wasn't even alive for this.
So you don't even hear about him creating TNT and dynamite and stuff.
He came from a line of scientists. Mm-hmm. Interesting. Huh.
Never knew that.
No, didn't know that at all.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Look, man, here's the thing. Education is important.
Yeah.
The rooms you're in is also important. But in order to advance where you are, like I know we kind of been all over the place in terms of like technology and everything. The one thing about technology is that it's not going anywhere and it's going to keep advancing. Mm-hmm. So it's one of those things where if you don't get on board, you're going to get passed, right? Like so, but you got to use those tools. Like we don't have to go to the library anymore and open up an encyclopedia and find an article.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We don't have to do that anymore.
Like I just did. Just
right.
Boom.
Like what you just did took 30 seconds. That used to be an all-day trip to get that information. You had to go to the library. Number one, you had to have a library card, but then you go there, get in. Now you got to go and hope that nobody is looking at that letter N.
You got to find the information.
You got to find it. And then you going through the book and like, bro, we literally had to go through books.
Y'all remember how frustrating it used to be to try to find a book in like a library catalog?
Oh, God.
Do you remember?
Horrible.
Yes.
Horrible.
Do you remember there used to be a class about library and how to...
Correct. That's crazy.
There was a class to teach you how to use the Dewey, is it the Dewey Decimal System?
Yes.
Yes. Oh my gosh. That was so terrible.
I mean, that's wild to think. I mean, now it's even wild to think that they still exist. Because I'm like, why would I I haven't, outside of going with my kids, I haven't been to the library for myself in forever.
Yeah.
Probably since college.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I'm thinking, like, what's the point of me going? Why do I need to go? Because I could look it up.
Google it up.
You know what I'm saying? But yeah, man. But I say all that to say technology is not going anywhere. we have to be on board with it, but we also got to utilize like what we have between our two ears, our brain, and use it in the right way. We can't be caught up with I'm just going with the answer. Because as you find out too, you can search for something and it can be the wrong answer.
True.
It just, it ranks well on SEO. It got,
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it got great SEO. So it's the top of the page for your search. And you click on it, it could be a page full of wrong information.
Not to mention it can come from a credible source and still be wrong.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's, that's the thing too. You still got to use your brain. You know what I mean? But I don't know. I mean, I think this is a good stopping point. You know what I mean? We don't have to deep dive. If y'all want to deep dive, then y'all got to come over to Patreon and deep dive with us.
Indeed.
We don't poured another glass of. We ain't gonna shout them out yet.
Hanging, dog.
Because you had already had one.
Y'all catching up.
We were trying to catch up.
I said it's been a week now.
Yeah, we slow motion.
I said it's been a week.
Look, we over here like old men, but look, we saying all that to say, if y'all want more content, y'all want to be with us for the long haul, and y'all want to really be super supporters, we're doing something special over on our Patreon account. Join our Patreon, get bonus content. We're going to do some special things. Like some of y'all have DM'd us and was like, yo, how can we get on the pod? Join Patreon. As a matter of fact, I do want to, I don't have my phone.
Next time.
But we're going to shout out to one of our followers. And in fact, we're going to, we'll talk about it on Patreon. They sent us a nice little care package.
Okay.
And I don't want to say the name wrong. So sorry. I'll get it back right when I get my phone or whatever. But
I look forward to this.
Yeah.
I know, right?
Let's see what this
Send us
is.
a nice little care package. And we're going to go through that care package on our Patreon. There you go. How about that?
Let's do
All
it.
right.
I
So
like it.
we'll see y'all next week, man. Black Man Think Podcast.
Holla.